Thank you, Ray. So, you come to a Sunday talk and you think you're going to be inspired and uplifted, and I'm going to start this talk off with a warning. I might ruffle some feathers this morning. For some people more than others, but it might happen. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. So my question is, are you ready for that potential to get your feathers ruffled? Say that 3 times fast, right? So question for you. How many people have a prayer practice? Show of hands. Okay. How many people have a meditation practice? Show your hands. Okay. How many people have a visualization or affirmation practice that they use? Yeah, a little bit. How many people have a tithing or a giving practice? Yeah, again, handful of people. Right. I mean, these are all good things that we talk about here at Unity, right? Different things that we can do to actually express and play with our divinity and use our own indwelling powers when we get connected, right? So here's a question for you. How many people have a receiving practice? Yeah. Well, I got one hand. I got one, maybe 2, right? So my observation is not very many people have a receiving practice. My question to you is, why not? Why not? Aren't we taught giving and receiving, right? What we're going to be talking about today is the power of receiving. Because over the course of the last few months, what's happening is that we as a humanity are being given, and I want you to hear this because it's really, really important. Because of all the craziness that's going on, in my opinion, there's 2 sides of an equation, right? There's a side where we've got all this craziness going on, but my observation has been, if you're paying attention, oh, do I got to pay attention? Yeah, you got to pay attention. That actually we're being given more and more and more support than at any time throughout the history of mankind, ever. Now, people may say it's coming from angels or from God or higher dimensional beings because of all the craziness, whether it's COVID or the vaccines or the mandates or the shutdowns or the potential wars and everything else that's going on. Again, there's another side of that. And my observation is that nobody's telling us that. And what I'm telling you is if you're plugged in and you slow down and you listen to what's going on in here, you'll realize and understand that more than ever, we have the ability to receive additional support, help, guidance, all of it. It's there, folks. It's real. But what I'm also aware of, and this is the thing that's been going on in my ear, is that in order to take advantage of all this additional support, that we have to be ready and willing to receive it. And that's what I want to talk about, this power of receiving. Now, I get it, right? I can already hear people saying, well, Mike, don't you think that's the problem with the world right now? That, in other words, don't you think everybody's out there going, give me more, give me more, give me more? And my answer would be a resounding no. My observation, actually, is that the majority, I'm not saying there's some out there that aren't like that, but by far, the majority of the people are really good people. And they really give, and they give, and they give, and they give, and they give. My God, look at what's going on around this church right now. We're in the middle of moving. I have never seen more people volunteer than I have right now in this moment with what we're going through at this church. I don't think I'm not kidding you when I tell you, I don't think there's a person in here, maybe one or two, that aren't actually involved with the committee to help us get all the stuff done that we need to get done to move. It's incredible. Most people are willing to give. In fact, I would say to the extreme, right? But for me, what the observation is that when I think about this idea of receiving, I look back at my own life and what I was taught that it's better to give than to receive, right? That it was actually selfish to even think about receiving, especially when I was giving something. I started to share this message with you a few months ago, and that is my opinion that what's happening right now is that we are actually shifting from more of the divine masculine to the divine feminine. Divine masculine is giving. Divine feminine is receiving. We're good at the giving. Most of us are really, really good at the giving. Most of us suck. Yes, I use that word. At receiving. Why? Because we're just not used to it. We aren't. Energetically, we are not used to receiving. And so we ignore it. We don't pay attention to it. We don't even realize it's there. After all, why would I think there's anything there for me to receive? So as a result of that, what I realized in my own life was that I rarely expected to receive anything, no matter how much I gave. Didn't matter. I just didn't really expect to receive anything. Can anybody relate to that? Yeah, pretty much everybody. Pretty much. My question is, can you see where that may have caused some problems or caused me to miss out on some opportunities in life or help that I was being given, but I just couldn't see it? Can you see that? Can you maybe see it in your own life where that might be something that caused the problems? Maybe, right? So I just want you to think about what I was actually doing. I always sit up here and tell you folks, you're energy. You are pure energy. That's what we are. And so energetically, when I was thinking about it, what I realized what I was doing was I was telling the universe that it's not okay for me to receive. And therefore, guess what I was doing to any help or support? Pushing it away. I was pushing it away, right? So any type of blessings, love, support, or anything else like that would basically show up and I wouldn't see them. I couldn't feel them. I couldn't sense them, nor could I receive them because I just didn't believe that they were going to show up, right? And that included any help from God, the angels, or any of these other high-level beings I'm talking about. Because I would sit there and I'd think to myself, well, who am I? Who's little old Mike to be sitting there thinking or asking to receive anything from God? Really? Because in my mind, I was thinking, well, look at God's got a lot on his plate right now. Might not be a good idea to be hitting him up for some, hey, can you help me out here? I mean, who am I after all? Just little lowly, oh, Mike. And then I started thinking about it, and it became painfully clear to me why did this happen? And I thought about my parents who gave and gave and gave, yet were horrible at receiving. I thought about the religion I grew up in. Fundamentalist, right? And so it was all give, 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 no receiving. After all, what was I? Born in original sin, sinner, not worthy, yada, 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 yada. fill in the blanks, right? And the society and the environment I grew up in. We're not taught it's okay to receive. We're not. In fact, they would use words such as, if I thought about doing it, narcissistic. How dare you? Arrogant. Oh my God, you're just so arrogant. And in some cases, going back to my fundamentalism, they would use the word blasphemous. Blasphemous. Yeah. And so therefore I believed it. What's really funny about that is I think about it now and I think to myself, well, wait a minute. What's more blasphemous? Me believing that I'm less than who and what God says I am, which is a brilliant, unique, beautiful expression of the divine, which, by the way, is what we believe at Unity, in case you didn't know that, or something far less than that. I think I'm going to have to think about that one for a minute, right? Nowadays, though, let me just be really clear. There's no question which camp I sit in. In fact, one of the things that you'll see the hair on the back of my neck stand up on is when people try to use shame, blame, guilt, and all the other tricks to keep people limited. It's just something I'm really sensitive to because of where I came from, right? So the point I'm trying to make here is that we all have an opportunity to receive so much, so many blessings from God, which, by the way, God is willing and ready to give us. However, we can't receive them until we, not God, are willing to. I want you to hear that again. We can't receive them until we are willing to. As I thought about this whole idea of receiving, I became more and more aware of just how uncomfortable I would get when it came to receiving, right? Now, the good news is not everybody here is like that. And I really hope for you that you're not uncomfortable receiving. But I know for myself at times, I can get a little bit uncomfortable when it comes to receiving. Have you ever just sat there and had somebody just blast you with gratitude and thanksgiving and everything else like that? It can be just a little bit awkward. Now, some people may be looking at it going like, well, what's a big deal? Which, that's awesome if you're like that. That's certainly not the way it was for me. Because, it can come in a lot of different ways. You've got blessings, you've got compliments, you got praise, you got gifts. There are all kinds of different ways that things come at you in terms of actually receiving. Some of them are seen, some of them are not seen, right? That's part of the deal. So when I thought about that, I thought about why have I struggled with that for so long? And then it just became really apparent that when it comes to receiving, it's actually something that I needed to learn how to do, and I never learned how to do it. Certainly not in the environment I was growing up in. And so then my question is, well, okay, if I've got this thing going on and I'm sitting here talking about this idea of receiving, then the question is, well, okay, then what can I do? What can you do? Maybe a few suggestions in here, right? What I'm going to suggest is that you consider starting to let your blessings in. In other words, start practicing the art of receiving, which can be a foreign language to most of us. It's a foreign language. And again, the reason you may want to consider doing this is the blessings cannot come unless you say so. I'm going to say that again. The blessings can't come unless you say so. Right? Don't ever forget, you have free will. You've got free will. God is not. I would argue God cannot be going around enforcing something on you that you aren't willing to receive. That is not the way it works. At least that's my understanding of it. Can't do it unless you're willing, ready, and able to receive the blessings. And you kind of got to let God, the universe, whoever, kind of let the universe know, hey, I'm ready. Bring it. Let's do this. Oh my God, that's so arrogant, Mike. How can you get up there and tell people that? Try it. Try it and watch what happens. Watch what happens when you start doing it, right? You've got to be ready and willing to receive them. When I started thinking about that in terms of examples of receiving, I can't think of any two better examples than our puppies. All the dog lovers out there know exactly, or animal lovers, know exactly what I'm talking about. That is Dexter and Beatrix. That's my buddies. That's my little critters that I love. Beatrix is over to the left, and she does this amazing thing. Oh, there's a little picture of her. So what happens is if you go anywhere near her, what she is going to do is that. She is going to roll up on her belly and look at you and basically tell you, yo, scratch the belly. That's what she does. And she is shameless about it. I mean, shameless about it. Like she does it all the time. It's like, I just did it for 10 minutes. I don't care. I want more. It's such a beautiful example. She doesn't think about it. She's been doing it since she's a puppy. She has no hesitation on receiving, and she expects you to scratch her belly. I thought, man, what a great example. Wouldn't that be cool if we all could be like her and be in a place where we just expect to get our bellies rubbed, to get our blessings, to know that we are loved and we matter so much, and it doesn't matter because of what we did or didn't do. It doesn't matter that actually this happens because of who and what you are. That's the truth, folks. These things that I'm talking about, these blessings that I'm talking about are there, waiting for us to do something about. And yet, we go on with our lives, we don't pay attention, and we don't slow down enough to actually receive the blessings. Right? So in this book, Raymond Hollowell in the Laws talks about this idea of receiving. And what he says is, he says, giving always precedes and predetermines the reception. So whether you're giving your thought, your word, your service, or your deed. So we're, again, the divine masculine. We're always giving, 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 giving. And then he goes on to say, well, some folks may consider this law as a two-way law, and that is half the time you should be busy giving, and the other half of the time you should be receiving. Here's my question. Are you spending half of your time receiving? It's just a question. Thought you might want to think about it. Right? He goes on to say it's like a proposition of heat and cold, and I really want to slow down when we talk about this idea because it's the words that are just so rich. And what he goes on to say that is if we concentrate upon the cold, so imagine you're cold, I'm cold, I'm cold, I'm cold, I'm cold. And if you concentrate on the cold and you hope and pray to get heat, he says you're likely to freeze to death. Wait a minute, let me get this right. I'm cold and I'm praying for heat. I'm going to die? When I was going like, what? How does that work? But then I thought about it and I thought to myself, is that what happens for most people when they pray and nothing shows up? Maybe there's something going on there with the way that we're doing it. Maybe it's a little bit backwards in terms of the way that we're processing it. He goes on to explain it that when he says, what we must do is give all of our thought and effort. Remember, we're talking about giving and we're talking about receiving. We must give all of our effort. So whereas the giving is giving all of our effort and thought toward building a fire or seeking that which will create heat to warm us. We must give all of our thought and effort towards the solution, not the problem, or the thing that we don't have, which is what most of us do, right? We're focusing on what we don't have. We're focusing on something else. If all we concentrate is upon receiving, which is what we want, he goes on to say, and by the way, remember, wanting is affirming that you don't have something. That's a huge metaphysical principle, by the way. Wanting, you saying, I want this, is affirming that you don't have it. Remember that. And not giving any thought or idea on how to get it. So I'm going to back up. When all we concentrate is upon receiving and not giving any thought or idea on how to get it, in a like manner, we may perish. In other words, it is not going to happen. So then the question is, well, wait a minute. Well, what are we hoping to receive then, Mike? So if we're in this process, I'm cold, what are we hoping to receive? Metaphysically, what you're hoping to receive is basically a new thought or a new idea that can help you no matter what the circumstances are. That's what the Fillmores taught. That's what Jesus taught. That's what the masters taught. Is that there is an answer, there is a solution, there is a way to no matter what's going on in your life. And if you can slow down enough and trust it and have faith in it and focus on what is the answer, what is the solution, and not get stuck on focusing on the problem, it'll show up. Right? He goes on to say, but after we give, that's not all that we must do. Our next step is to prepare to receive the response or results of our giving to receive. Once again, our next step, there is another step. The receiving step is to prepare to receive the response or the results. So let me get this right. Then I sit there and I focusing on what it is that I want. Yep. You're giving your thoughts. You're giving yourself open. You're saying, I'll receive. And then what do? You prepare to receive. How much should you plan on preparing to receive? About half your time. Are you doing that? I would argue most are not. Because we don't know this stuff. And that's what makes it so fun about going to Unity, because you learn this stuff. And as a result, you get to apply these principles. And it gets kind of fun, actually. He goes on to say, as the law states, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Just like what it says in the Bible. This is the most interesting part because our preparation shows our active faith. Oh, so wait a minute, we get to practice faith in there? Of course you do. Why? Because you're focusing on what it is that you can do to help the particular situation you're in, and you trust that something is going to show up, a new idea, a new thought, to solve the problem. Right? Yeah, that's how it really works. He says, instead of rocking and waiting, we are preparing and working. So instead of they're going, I'm cold, what are we doing? We are preparing and working. We are preparing because we know the answer is on the way, and we're working. We're going to do everything that we can. Maybe you're going to go adjust your thermostat. Maybe you're going to build a fire. Maybe you're going to do something. I don't know. whatever inspires you to get warm. But you don't just sit there and wait like God's going to show up and drop a bonfire in your lap. That is probably not going to happen. I don't know about your life, but it hasn't happened in my life. I'm not saying that instantaneous miracles don't happen. I will never say that, because they do. And I'm fully aware of it, that they do. But for me, most of the time, I got to get moving. I got to go grab a shovel and start digging. I got to start moving a little bit and be open to any thoughts or new ideas that might come up. Whether it's, hey, think about this, or talk to this person, or do that. Most of my answers, honestly, don't come from me. Some do. But most of my answers come from other people. That's where most of my answers come from. I wish I could take credit for most of them, but I can't. Just being honest, I can't do that, right? So you come from other places, other people, other things, and you never know how they're going to show up, right? Never. It could come to you in the form of a conversation with a friend. It could come to you in the form of a book. It could come from you in a song. You just never know how God's going to show up and drop this thing in your lap. It's kind of funny, actually, when you can see how creative God can get in terms of bringing you the answer or the help that you need if you're open to receive it. But you got to be open to receive it, right? So I just want to talk about this idea, again, about receiving and it being an actual skill set that needs to be learned and practiced and done on a regular basis in order to get good at it. It does, but we don't think about it that way. We just don't, right? I mean, if you think about it, it's just like anything else that we do, like playing the piano or singing or doing art or whatever it is that you do that you're really, really good at. What has to happen? You got to learn it, you got to develop it, and then you got to practice it. Learning is no different. And if I hope and pray that you take one thing away from this message, you'll understand that it's a skill set. And it takes a minute to figure out, especially if you grew up in an environment where you weren't taught it and it wasn't something that was very easily done. And you had no example of how to receive it, which is exactly where I came from. So the thought or idea of actually receiving is a complete foreign language to me. It was. It was, but it's not anymore. You have to let the universe know that you're willing and ready to receive all of your blessings. All of them. I have actually made it part of my meditation practice. So, what I do is I take 5 minutes of my meditation practice and I receive. So here's how that works, and we're going to do this in a few minutes. So what I do is I go into meditation, and then when my 5 minutes starts, what I do is I take a deep breath in and I imagine all the blessings, the things that I don't even know that I can receive. I just imagine them coming into my body. I just inhale them. And then I exhale with gratitude. So I inhale, I receive, and then I exhale. Thank you, God. 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 And I inhale and I say, I receive. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. I am willing to receive. I am willing to receive. I am willing to receive. Thank you, God. 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 And that's part of my meditation practice. And that's what I do. So, you ready? Let's give this a whirl, shall we? So we can turn down the lights. Ray. So as we prepare for meditation, don't let the word meditation freak you out. The only thing you're going to do is, and only if you feel comfortable, is maybe close your eyes. And if it helps to follow my voice, then follow my voice. But just start off relaxing your body. I always like to just wiggle it a little bit. I always thank my body for everything it's done to get me here, but then I tell it to relax. Just relax, body. Wiggle a little bit more and see where there might be any tension or something that's not relaxed. But just relax, 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 relax your body. Slow everything down and relax your body. And then what I want you to do is I want you to relax your mind. Thank your mind for everything it's done to bring you here. You had to coordinate everything, getting dressed, getting ready, getting into the car, driving here, everything. It's done an amazing job. Thank your brain, thank your mind. But now also let it know it's time to just relax. Relax, relax, relax. For some, it's helpful just to take a deep breath in and let it out. Let's do another one. Take another deep breath in. Blow that sucker out. And now just become totally present. Maybe put your hand on your heart. Connect with yourself. Connect with your soul. Say hi. There you are. Hi. And then what I want you to imagine is connecting with the divine, whatever that means for you. Understanding that you are much more than a physical body. Your spirit, your light, your love, connecting with the divine. And then I want you to set the intention for the next few moments of receiving. To the best of your ability, open yourself up to this thought or idea of being able to receive better than you've ever received before. And I want you to think about when you inhale, just imagine all the blessings, all the things that are there for you that maybe you've never even thought of or even considered. In fact, maybe you've pushed them away. But now give yourself permission to receive. I give myself permission to receive. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, on your exhales. Receive, receive, receive on the inhales. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, on the exhales. And just keep playing with that. There's no right or wrong way to do this. You cannot screw this up. You can't. So play. Become childlike. Imagine there's a treasure waiting for you to receive it. Imagine that treasure's coming to you now. What might that look like for you? If you could just become childlike and grab it. My God, feel what it feels like to receive, receive, receive. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. How fun is this? And the gifts keep coming. The joy that's in your heart, the love that's in your heart, that you get to share with everybody that you love. Because you took the courageous step to receive. Receive, receive, receive. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Imagine the angels are with you, playing with you, celebrating with you, encouraging you. And they're all around you, wanting to have fun. Receive their love, receive their blessings, receive their guidance and direction. Let them know that you're willing to receive. Ask them to show you more ways to receive. Maybe even ask them to show you where you may be holding back in receiving, to heal that, to let it go. That whatever notions, whatever ideas you had about yourself that wouldn't allow you to receive are healed and transmuted. Oh my God, this is fun. This is so fun. Get into it. Enjoy. And love. Feel the energy as it moves around you. Become one with this energy. This dance. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Yes. Affirm to yourself, I am receiving. I am receiving now. My past is gone. I'm able to move forward, and I give myself permission to look back only when I want to, but not because I have to. To look back because it brings me joy, not sorrow. Yes, yes, and yes. And now I want you to start thinking about slowly coming back. And in that process, if you just want to say thank you again to the angels, thank you to God, anyone else you want to say thank you to. Slowly coming back into your body. Slowly wiggle your toes and your hands. Open your eyes and come back to the room. How'd we do? Was that kind of fun? It was fun up here. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I was having a good old time up here. It's crazy to me to go through this journey of life and to experience the divine. I just want you to know that each and every one of you has the ability to take this as far as you want to take it. God is limitless. The expression and the experience of the divine is limitless. And the only limitations that we have on that does not come from the divine. It comes from us. That's where it comes from. And so as you walk your own journey, just understand that. Understand the only limitations that you're having in terms of your experience or your expression of the divine is coming from you, not from God. I assure you that. God is sitting there willing, ready, and perfectly able to let you have an amazing experience in so many ways. But we have to engage with it. This journey that you're on, you're having a spiritual journey, whether you're willing to admit that or not. Spoiler alert. Right? You're having your own spiritual journey. And you can dive in and play with this stuff as much as you want. There are no limits. I don't care how old or young you are. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your experience is. I don't care how much shame or blame or guilt that you've had, which a lot of us have carried for a lot of our lives. Because when you start playing with it, you'll realize the only thing that's there, honestly, is love. Pure, absolute, unconditional love. That's the only thing there is. And the rest of it is not coming from God. It's not. How fun is that? When you get to walk around in your life and go, like, wait a minute, let me get this right. There's not some old man up in the sky sitting there waiting for me to screw up. Oh my God, no. No. And yet, that's a story that's been handed down from generation to generation to generation. The good news is, we're waking up. You're waking up. The collective consciousness of this planet is waking up. And we are on the verge. I would say it's already happening, but we are about to live in the most amazing time ever on the history of this planet. And it's coming. My question is, are you ready? You're amazing. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for playing with me this morning, for playing with us this morning, for participating. It makes all the difference in the world. And I am incredibly, incredibly grateful. And I'm a very, very lucky guy. I always say that. You are the brilliant light of God, each and every one of you. Don't ever let anybody tell you you're less than that, ever. It's not going to happen when you come in this building, ever. It's not what we do here. It's not. Many blessings to you. I hope you guys have and gals have a fantastic week. Thank you. God bless.